Hello class, my name is Brandon Heil, and this is my presentation on my recent interview with Zach Dozel, head chef and general manager of Duke's Ale House and Kitchen in Crystal Lake, Illinois. Now, Zach's college education began at Purdue, where he studied business and completed his bachelor's degree. He later went on to Kendall College, the old campus, and received his associates in culinary arts. His father is both the owner of Duke's and Dirty Nelly's in Palatine, and ever since a young age, he has always loved food and learned a lot being around the kitchen at a young age with both his father and his father's employees. After finishing college at Kendall, he went on to take over his dad's restaurant at Duke's and has now been the general manager and head chef there for over 4 years. He commutes from Logan Square to Crystal Lake every day and has had success ever since he began. Duke's Ale House and Kitchen has a main focus on seasonal and sustainable ingredients along with craft beers. Duke's has a selection of over 250 beers and has an ever-changing menu. He likes to keep customers involved with multiple attractions including live music and classes for both kids and adults. Now, what I didn't know about the head chef GM position was that there are a lot more other responsibilities other than cooking, and those might include disciplining employees, fixing mechanical issues, and making food orders and alcohol orders and checking to verify that they are correct. He's often on the phone for hours a day, even when he's not at the restaurant. Since Zach began at Duke's, he has evolved a lot and learned a lot from his mistakes. In the start, he was focused kind of in the wrong direction, focusing mainly on making the food more than managing the restaurant as a whole. And what he didn't realize was that designing dishes came with seasonality and what was available in the kitchen, and he often would try to force it. He also was a little too lenient with discipline in the beginning and let misconduct slide constantly. He started off excited but often too nice, and this developed bad habits with employees and led to bad reviews from customers. From there, he had to work twice as hard to earn the respect from his employees and win back those lost customers. One of the biggest pieces of advice he gave me was to never be afraid to ask for advice when you need it and to always use your resources to your advantage. He was never afraid to ask his dad or even other line cooks for advice because they often knew the kitchen better than he did. One thing he advised me to do was also let changes be known immediately after a mishap or before, if possible, to leave from other issues. Zach's style of employee recruiting is a little less aggressive than a larger scale restaurant. He mainly finds new employees through either walk-ins and employee references. He then conducts short interviews and gives that potential employee a day of staging or free labor. He pays attention to their performance, including organization, focus, and cleanliness. And then he also will seek input from other employees who worked around that person to see if the fit is right. If the fit is there, then they will most often be hired, but then forced to work hard and learn quick, or they'll have to seek employment elsewhere. While employee references will give a slight advantage to how a potential employee may be, there is never a guarantee. And often, hiring a friend of an employee can lead to more misconduct if the two work together. The restaurant industry does have a high turnover rate, as Zach believes, and by finding a devoted employee and keeping them motivated, that is how he limits employees from leaving his establishment. Zach has no need for a human resources department as his staff is only about 25 employees, but he does employ a series of managers for disciplining and rewarding other front of house and kitchen staff. He currently has 3 front of house managers, 1 bar manager, a sous chef, and a lady in charge of payroll and accounting. With them, he is able to maintain a consistent ideology and philosophy throughout the stash from the top of the ladder to the bottom. I wasn't surprised when I asked him about any recent issues he may have encountered and how he fixed them. The answer he gave me was, I have to fix problems every day, sometimes 10 a day, And while some conflicts may be huge, there is never any issue that is too small. When encountering conflicts, it's important to decide whether issues need to be handled immediately, such as customer complaints or malfunctioning appliances, while others need to be made aware of but can be handled at a later time. One recent conflict, he told me, was a story about an employee named Margarito. Margarito, during lunch, decided that he would go across the street to get tacos and would be back in 15 minutes. Come 2 hours later, he was nowhere to be found and was not answering his phone. So Zach searched as hard as he could to find another line cook to cover the shift, but with no success. So he then decided to pull a dishwasher or prep cook from downstairs and put them on the line. With his help and everyone else's, they were able to make it through the night. Zach told me he even had to jump onto the line and that he hadn't worked the line in forever and he was even nervous, probably because his fellow employees were going to be watching him and keeping a close eye on his performance. Margarito's walking off the job was both an immediate conflict and a long-term because he had to find new people to cover his schedule for the next upcoming weeks. Zach says he enjoys the restaurant industry, but there are some downsides. When I asked what was the biggest negative, he said that he has to talk to people way too much and that he never expected that. Constantly dealing with employees, service repairs, customers, and food suppliers. But he says, by being able to stay friendly takes practice, but in the end, you develop relationships that go a long way and can even lead to cutting costs. The key is to stay positive when around others and especially employees to boost employee morale. The biggest positive he found was satisfying customers, and nothing can really compare, he says, to creating a new dish and to see the immediate response from customers through food sales or customer comments. And we both share the same commonality and positivity with working in the food industry. Nothing can really beat satisfying a customer with a delicious plate of food. And this was a big motivator for me now in the kitchen and later on in life in the long term. Alright, well, thank you, class, for hearing my presentation. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.